So Victor Oladipo is going to win Most Improved Player this season. So it makes sense to have him number one on the Most Surprising Players of 2018 thing. He was at a weird spot where you saw the potential and you saw the athleticism that he did possess, but didn't totally know how to put it towards like beating defenders in one-on-ones and making defensive plays and being a terror in transition. And you saw the potential as a ball handler and a shooter, but it wasn't all the way there. And, well, he exploded in Indiana. I have spoke on Oladipo a few times this season, which isn't something crazy because a million people have, because he deserves it. But, you know, there are a couple players here and there who I think I have talked about a bit through the year, but I'd like to think there are a couple of new guys as well here. If we can stay on the Indiana Pacers, if we can get to Domantas Sabonis, someone who I may have mentioned here and there, but I definitely should have talked about more this year, because he was kind of also looked at as someone where you didn't really know where he was going to be able to carve out a name for himself, right? In OKC, he was forced into the stretch 4 spot where he wasn't really playing the right position. Nate McMillan moved him to the center position, had him rolling to the basket more often, had him grabbing a lot more rebounds. I mean, he's grabbing like 2 offensive rebounds a game now, and now it seems like you can tell what type of player he's going to be. I mean, he could be like a more athletic Anderson Varejao type of guy who could have some potential as an outside shooter, by the way. I think that's an interesting thing with him, is that could still be a thing. Next, I want to talk about Andre Drummond, a player who his offensive game, I think, really went to another level this season. It starts with the passing, you know. The Pistons have had him out towards the perimeter making plays to cutters, but then the free throw percentage has also been a revelation for him, and even if he's not that great from the line, going from awful to slightly under average is quite an improvement if you ask me. And if I can give you his offensive rating, it's at the highest of his career at nearly 106 points per 100 possessions, and his defense is at least better than last season. I think on a team that had a bit more offense around him, he could have had that offensive rating be even higher, but he's gotten better. And I think all we can hope for now is that Drummond gets the free throw percentage up, even maybe a little more. If he could hit 70, that would be great. And then just improve on the passing and all that moving forward. Next up, Aaron Gordon, a power forward who has at sometimes looked like a shooting guard throughout his career. The athleticism is of course there, the defense is there, but the three-point shot became a real thing for him this season. He attempted about 6 a game, where he got up to 34% is where he's at the moment. I think this is a pretty big deal because now the offensive potential with him is just a lot better. I mean, even if he wouldn't have developed a three-point shot, if he would have just played power forward and rolled to the rim and like played his actual position, then he still would have been good. But now if he can make shots from outside, stretch the defense out, I think you could play him at center a bit more often, and it could really cause some problems for opposing big guys. Aaron Gordon is just getting better, and hopefully now he just has had enough of just like playing the power forward position for a full season and not having his position changed and all that, to where he can build on this for next season. Julius Randle has been an interesting player throughout his career. I mentioned him like a week ago in terms of the role player all-stars, also saying that he hasn't really been a role player lately. He's been more of like a legitimate starter. He just seems to have gotten his head on straight in terms of playing within an offense. He has been a bit shot happy lately, but rolling to the rim, playing defense, and just having energy plays and not trying to outdo himself, I guess, knowing what he's good at and straying away from the things that he's not so good at. Good signs for Julius Randle. Spencer Dinwiddie, or as I called him on Twitter once, Spencer Winwiddie. He kind of reminds me of Sean Livingston, that one year that Livingston was there where the Nets were better when he was in the game as opposed to Darren Williams, because Dinwiddie has the height like Livingston did. He's a better athlete, of course, though. I think with him, I don't think he has enough abilities to be like a big-time scorer, but a solid 14, 15 a game, and then the height as well as good enough playmaking abilities, I think Dinwiddie can grow into one of the, 15 best point guards in the NBA maybe. I mean, he'd definitely be like around mid-tier, but I think mid-tier is pretty solid for a dude who kind of came out of nowhere for the Nets, and he's had some big games for them this season. And I think he is a quality enough either starting point guard or backup point guard who plays a lot of minutes. He's a good player. He should also have some potential when it comes to grabbing rebounds as well. And finally, Fred VanVleet. And I mentioned how Dinwiddie came out of nowhere. Fred definitely just kind of fell into the Raptors' lap. I don't know how often it happens that undrafted players who just, team signs him to be like the third string player, and he only played about 8 minutes a game last year, and he played less than half the season, to this year being a mainstay for the Raptors' second unit, which has been one of the best lineups in the NBA, playing 20 minutes a night, and he's been getting crunch time minutes for them. Sometimes he'll be playing with DeRozan or Lowry, or potentially even both of them. In late fourth quarter situations, he's making three-pointers, he makes plays for others, and he has like a don't quit mentality to him that I think has energized Toronto a bit this season. He's good, man. And we'll see if his energy that he brings to the second unit can translate into the postseason, because if so, the Raptors have quite a weapon with their bench players. Oh, and then a new podcast. I said this earlier, I'll say it again. I ranked my GM series, so that was cool. And then Ready Player One as well as Love, Simon reviews.